Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to John, who's had a bit of a frustrating 6.5 months. And I had asked him if he wants to come and say his story. So hopefully, maybe somebody in Amazon can see it with the proper context. So, John, tell us a little bit about your experience, your last 6 months selling on Amazon.
Yeah, so been selling for about 10 years, and was doing great. March 14th, everything was awesome, record year, all excited for the rest of the year. And then wake up on March 15th with my virtual assistants all messaging me, sir, what happened? The account suspended, the account suspended. And then I go in and look. And in past suspensions, there have been a couple which were like, counterfeit type claims the customer made. So you're expecting one of those, like, oh, okay, just get your receipts out or your invoices and, kind of address it. And this time it says, like you're colluding with your competitors and we think you might have been involved in price fixing and you're suspended. And my initial reaction, I'm just like what in the world? Like, I had no idea, couldn't even think of anything. So I called account health, and you're kind of racking your brain, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I know what this is about. And my mind went to this one communication I made to another seller back in January, which was like 2.5 months before, just commenting about their price, kind of an issue we were having. And apparently that's what it was. And it seems like in 6.5 months, I haven't been able to kind of explain the context around what happened and get someone on Amazon to understand that, like, they haven't caught a bad actor. It was just kind of a misunderstanding. I did make a slip of tongue. I just like don't really think that all this is justified, but I don't know.
Now, why? I mean, it was only one A. Obviously, you don't price collude, or there would be an all the ASINs or more than one ASIN. But you want to get a little bit into the details about this, how you slipped up on that?
Yeah. So basically, there's like imagine in a certain category, there's maybe a few ASINs that are kind of similar, and a bunch of competitors share the buy box and do the normal competing against each other with repricers and stuff. And so on this one particular ASIN, it just seemed like more of the competition kind of stayed away from it. There were less sellers that were on the other ASINs. Just something seemed a little sticky about the buy box. It didn't seem to respond as well to repricers. So basically, I kind of like was stubborn. I'm like, well, I want to keep selling on it to see if I can kind of crack the code and figure out a way to get more of a share of the buy box. So I did this really extreme pricing experiment where I literally like took my price all the way in half to see if I could get more of the buy box. Didn't change anything all the way down to like 50% off, where I was losing $8 a unit. So like, well, that's not sustainable. So I put my price back to where it was, which was 1 cent behind the other competitor, because every time I try to make any movement, you might say, well, of course the repricer responds. Yes, but like it never responded in my favor. Like it always was this other seller's favor. So I finally had reached out to that seller, not even knowing that like you couldn't talk about those things or you couldn't reach out, and basically just said like, hey, me driving my price to the floor, like neither of us is going to make anything. This isn't sustainable. But also me staying 1 cent behind you kind of sucks too, like, for the customer, and then also just for obviously for me, right? So like, hey man, is there any way we can, kind of agree on a buy box? And it's someone might say, oh, kiss of death, you shouldn't have said that. And admittedly, I shouldn't have said that. Again, I didn't know what I was saying was wrong. But at the same point, it's also like if you look at all the actions and kind of put the whole context together, see that my price was the same before, during, and after that conversation, see that actually the seller and I never agreed upon anything. They never really engaged or gave me any information. It was just like a kind of a dead end conversation. Um, all my actions mapped that basically I was trying to unfix the price, kind of like this price is stuck. I'm always going to have to say 1 cent behind. How can I get a little movement here, a little friendly competition? And made one kind of careless comment, but again, one comment in 10 years, because it's the only time I've ever experienced like a buy box this kind of sticky and weird. And here I am.
Right, and Amazon can easily see that your actions on the other ASINs, there's no price colluding, there's no conspiracy. I mean, I mean, like, with me, I mean, they just completely do not know or pretend not to know context. And yeah, if you just looked at the email, I could see how somebody can conclude that you may be doing what they suggested, but with this explanation and with them reviewing all the other communication, it's absolutely outlandish. It was just to unstuck a buy box, a technical thing, and not any kind, and not anything more than that. And all they had to do was warn you, and life would have been good for everyone. There's no upside. Nobody wins at this. How would you? I mean, I hope someone in Amazon sees this and does the right thing. How do you think what have you learned? Because we've been speaking a lot. What have you learned about how Amazon treats its sellers the last 6.5 months, besides for the way they've treated you without sort of pulling the camera back? How would you say Amazon is doing the last 6 months treating sellers?
Well, I mean, when you go through something like this, you kind of, you know, you're not alone, but it takes kind of like chit chatting and trying to get help and intermixing with our sellers to really realize, like, wow, this is happening to a lot of people. This is not an isolated incident. A lot of people have the same sentiment, and that sentiment is just kind of, you feel like a number. You're just like a cog in the wheel. The fact that you've been selling for 10 years, that you have like a track record of very honest and good selling behavior, like it almost seems to mean nothing. You're just like pounding your head against the wall with like some bot or some automated reply, just keep telling you don't have enough information, you don't have enough information. And you're like, but what is the information you want? Or what could I share differently? Or even if that's sort of like the automated conclusion, could I just have 5 or 10 minutes to talk with someone, a real human, and kind of explain? And I mean, finally, if they really want to decide that like they absolutely can't have me back, or they're so strict, I mean, I guess that's their prerogative, but it's like you kind of can't let it go, because you're just sort of like, has that actually really happened? Has anyone actually really looked at it and seen the context? And it's very hard mentally to sort of just bring closure when you're like, I don't know that I trust that that's even happened.
Right. It's very unjust and it's very unfair. And you don't like injustices. People don't like injustices. And just to do this to me seems very unfair. So, I mean, is there anything else you would like to say to the person who can reinstate your account if he sees this?
I think just take the whole picture into context, right? I mean, if I was someone who just started selling 6 months ago, maybe you just say, "Oh, look, you know, rookie mistake already right out of the gate. Sorry, we got to just put the slap on the wrist." But I think a quick warning or a message would have done everything here that was necessary. And finally, if you decide that this type of action is really necessary, I mean, at least give me a little bit of courtesy that I've been a trusted partner for 10 years, and you know, just want a chance to share my honest story and see if we can't work something out.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. And I hope you get through this. And best of luck, John. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ed.